So there's this gentleman named Tom Henderson, and he regularly publishes for Try Hard Guides, and he wrote an article, or I guess really more of a post. It was kind of small, about this game that he had been sent through an anonymous source, or that he got to view through an anonymous source, that obviously didn't want to divulge who it was, called Overdose. Mm-hmm. And he watched it and he was like, okay, some interesting things. It can be in first and third person. And he's like, okay, so he's watching this game and the character in it is going down these dark corridors with just a flashlight. And then after some exploration, there's a jump scare that leads to a death and a game over screen. And it says a Hideo Kojima game, Overdose. So this guy's kind of got like a bit of a scoop, if you will, from this anonymous source about this. But it was kind of, again, a small little thing. He said it was only about 1 to 2 minutes that he got to see. He said it did look like that the character that's going through it, that their name is, it's the actress Margaret Qualley, I think is how you say her name. And she played the character named Mama in Death Stranding.
Mm. Oh, okay.
So there's that connection too, but it's like, okay, well, but maybe not. And it probably, for the most part, would have just kind of been like, there's lots of rumors and things that Kojima's tied to this, Kojima's tied to that. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that always happens. Except that someone for Kojima Productions reached out and said, hey, can you take that story down? So it's like, okay, well, maybe that lends some credence to it.
Mm-hmm. Striking a nerve,
He didn't go into a bunch of the communication that was gone there, but he said basically the gist of it was, hey, they're requesting that we remove this article and the social posts, and that they'd be happy to work with us whenever they can share more. That's all that he was saying. Again, he's just kind of giving you an overall, hey, this is what was said in the email to me, asking me to take it down. It's not direct quotes or any of that kinds of stuff.
Right.
But he didn't show the video.
No, he didn't show any of the stuff. He just talked about what he had seen and then said, this is the name that I saw. This is what the gameplay looked like. The fact that it could switch between first and third person, that it was a horror game. And then at the very end, it said a Hideo Kojima game. So...
why would it say that there?
Right.
I don't know why it would say it there, except for if this literally was just a demo to get people excited about it. I could see why his name would be. He would put his name at the end of like a demo. Like if it's a vertical slice where you're not actually playing it, it's just like just a video.
Or like if it was for Summer Games Fest.
Maybe.
For the event tomorrow.
Yeah, for something like that, where it would show it at the end,
exciting.
because more than likely they wouldn't put that at the beginning. It'd be one of those things, because obviously with Kojima, he wants to end with that kind of thing. Yeah, and be like, oh my gosh, he's working on this. So, I don't know, we might see something tomorrow, we might see something soon. It makes total sense because he already was going down the road of making PT that we know about, and that was a horror game, so clearly he's got interest in doing that kinds of stuff.
Right.
On top of the other things that he's been involved with. So, I don't know, we'll see.
I forget, Chris, you say that it doesn't matter what Hideo puts out, you'll play it, right?
I don't think
that
I said...
Will you play a horror game?
What I said was, it doesn't matter what he puts out, I will probably buy it. Because I played the demo or whatever for PT, but like outside of the scare factor, which I'm not particularly a fan of, that game was so cumbersome and convoluted, like I wouldn't be able to beat that game. So even if I played it, I'd be like, all right, I'm stuck in this loop. I can't get out. I don't know what to do. And I would just stop the game. But I will probably buy it, yes. That is
to support Hideo Kojima.
And I would probably jump in to give it a go. But I mean, like, if it's too much for me, either from a scare point or I can't figure out these obtuse puzzles, then I probably wouldn't continue.
So here's a question. Because I saw a couple of and I like being media blackout for the most part on a lot of things. And I saw a lot of NDA broken stuff being talked about this week on Twitter. Again, didn't chase it down, didn't want to see what it was. Do you guys feel like the media has a responsibility? Like this guy, does he have a responsibility not to write that story? Because he knows that's obviously something that's not out? Or is it because I'm guessing that whoever showed it to him probably broke some type of NDA, right?
Right.
And then if somebody else breaks it, but then you write the story, does that kind of put it on you, or is should he have not written that story?
I don't think that they have an obligation to not write it, but I think you can absolutely make the conversation or have the conversation about, is it right for them to do it? And I think that really comes down to per journalist. Like, are they more interested in scoops and making a name for themselves, or are they more interested in the craft and the pageantry of and all the stuff that these developers work so hard and try to keep such a tight lid on?
Especially when it's something like that where it's here's what I saw, when it's basically you're publishing hearsay, right. Where, and I don't know if the guy writing the article actually saw it, but if he's just going by what some guy told him he saw it, it gets a little. I mean, there are so many false leaks out there. And last year at PlayStation's big, it was Summer Game. But one of the things, someone had released the entire set list of everything we were going to see, and it was like, oh, wow,
this state of play. It was this last one.
Well, this one was like a year ago, but none of it was right. Sorry. But it was very believable because we thought we were going to see Overwatch 2, and they're like, about 4 things in, it's going to be Overwatch 2, and had a list of all of them. Mm-hmm. None of them were right. And so it's right. And so I believe none of that now. And if you're a journalist and you're going by, this guy said he saw this, I feel like just journalistically, should you even print that?
But this guy saw it.
He did see it.
Who wrote
this guy was sent
He's
from his source. Yeah. He was sent video footage of this.
Okay.
So whether it was an actual trailer or like a video of screenshot kind of thing.
Okay. Right. I thought he was reporting on what someone had seen. Oh, okay.
And
gotcha.
That's my question. It's like he saw it. He knows it's not public. So why write that story? Is it just to get his name out there?
Yeah, it's to break it. Of course,
for the clicks. I would
potentially
think.
For him and his whoever he writes and for to get the traffic and all that kinds of stuff.
Okay, so then here's the secondary question: video game journalism is not as big as mainstream media journalism, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. IGN probably has. I mean, I have no idea. Maybe IGN is more popular than actually CNN. Maybe. I have no idea. But you would think it's a small enough group to where, like, do you not mess with that guy anymore now?
Right.
Well,
like,
and
do you put yourself out there enough to where it's like, hey, don't send him nothing because that joke will go talk about
true.
It.
Yeah, like from what, even dealing with people who have dealt with other arenas besides video games, a lot of people say, I can't believe how much more lockdown is in video games than in these other things.
Than in movies. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, you would think I don't even want to test the waters of not being sent anything because I talked about this thing here. Like I wouldn't.
That's what.
I don't know.
Yeah, like why risk that? I wonder. Like, Chris, when you saw that, were you like, "Ooh, I'm glad he's spoiled that," or are you like, just glad that you hear Kojima's doing something? Like, is that as far as it goes?
I mean, I'm not upset, or I mean, I'm kind of indifferent. I don't really care. I mean, in this particular instance, I mean, there's been times in the past where something comes out, and I'll be honest, I wasn't even necessarily thinking about it possibly being something that could be scooped at Summer Games Fest. But there's been times in the past where I feel like it's the day before E3's XYZ's press conference or whatever, which in this case, this came out a little bit earlier, but that this is kind of very close to when Summer Games Fest comes out. That the fan in me might think, oh man, I'd really rather have been surprised by that if it turns out to be legit and yada, yada, yada. But I mean, I don't feel like if something's ever been spoiled that I was like super upset about, because at the end of the day, like I don't have to go read the article. I mean, I may see a headline that says so-and-so is working on a game, or, you know, the next Assassin's Creed is going to be set in Japan or whatever, and I may see that headline, but I'm not reading the article if I'm not interested. If I don't want anything spoiled, I'm not going any further than that. So I don't know. I don't really get hurt about it.
It seems like in the world that we live in, the headlines end up being the spoiler.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, they do.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, so that's where I get buggy, because I think it was Chris. I actually think it was you that tweeted back at somebody who, I don't remember if they released a picture or something about Doctor Strange or something. You were like, everybody hasn't seen the movie yet. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that.
It was
same
IGN.
thing where you're like,
it was IGN.
Oh, okay, it was IGN. So
it was like the
that same
Sunday, the movie opening weekend. They're like, so and so was in it. Here's everything about this character, and I'm like, bro, come on. I mean,
right.
I mean, what do you do?
And that's the thing that bugs me is like, it's like you don't know not to read a headline until you've read it. You don't know not to look at a picture until you see it. Like when I spoiler alert for Last of Us 2. Oh, I just won't even say it. When I saw a certain character dead, in a screen grab.
Right.
I didn't know what I was really looking at until I was like, what is,
Yeah,
man.
God.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's like, then it's too late. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's why I'm wondering if the media, there needs to be, I just wonder if that's, you know what I'm saying?
Well, again, I would say I don't think there's an obligation to do that. Like from a gamer's moral standpoint, yes, I don't want them doing those kinds of things. I'm the person that gets annoyed when these yahoos that do playthroughs are putting spoiler thumbnails up for like, here's part 3 of this.
Yeah.
I get annoyed.
Yes.
I'll block the channels because it's like I don't
I've
want to
done that.
see. I don't want to see your stuff. So yes, from my standpoint, there's times where yes, that bothers me. I take it back a step a little bit for me personally when it's just I'm mentioning that so and so's working on a horror game, or I'm mentioning that EA is making another football game. Like I'm not as concerned about just knowing a thing is going to exist. Giving me details about it is different.
Right.
To
right.
me.
Right. Interesting. Okay.
I don't. Yeah. Now, if it was something where like Kojima came out and said like, I am retired, I will never produce another game, and it's been like 15 years, and all of a sudden something's in the works, yeah, maybe don't spoil that for me and let it be made. But it's like,
Right.
I know Kojima's working on something crazy. I know it's going to come out at some point. So to tell me like he's working on a horror game, like, okay, cool. I mean, it doesn't really, if that turns out to be true, it's still a huge question mark, especially when it comes to Kojima, because you just never know.
Right.
You just never
Yeah.
know. Interesting. Huh.